welcome to Morning Market Call. My name is Jeff Butler, and with me today I have Bradley Linnell, first-year MBA here at BYU, and being from Arkansas, has a little bit of a background in oil and gas. And we've invited him here today to talk to us a little about something that all consumers, corporations, pretty much everyone in our economy has on their mind at some point in time, is oil prices. They affect us so much in our pocketbook, in our ability to travel. I think one big question everyone has is why do oil prices fluctuate so much? You look at the gas pump, and the prices just seem to be all over the board. Can you give us some more detail on that?
Absolutely. Every day when we drive by the gas station, you're wondering, why are these wild fluctuations in oil? And one of the problems is that the demand for oil, because it's used in the manufacturing of plastics, lubricants, and obviously in fuels, is that our demand is fairly inelastic. So it almost doesn't matter what they charge for it, we're going to buy it anyway. Mm-hmm. So they don't have, that makes it tough to have control over the prices. Additionally, production capacity is pretty closely matched to our demand. So the problem we run into there is if there's any disruptions in the fields, in transportation, or in the refinery process, it causes wild fluctuations in how much we're going to pay, especially what the average person is going to see, is that they're going to see at the gas pump. So like during Hurricane Katrina, I worked in the transportation industry. Long-haul truckers were talking to us about, I can only get 30 gallons of diesel. They would have to stop multiple times. It slowed down deliveries and drove up our costs. But if they hadn't done the rationing like that, you would have had localized pockets where they were all out of diesel fuel. Yeah,
I remember actually I lived in Houston, Texas during Hurricane Katrina and as well as Hurricane Ike. And I remember there being 3 or 4 days where the gas pumps were dry. You couldn't get gas. And so, with that in mind, imagine what would happen, if we did actually ran out of gas completely. Is that a concern? Will we ever run out of oil?
Well, under current theories, we believe that all the oil that's ever going to be is already in the earth. So theoretically, yes. Of course, economics tells us that as it becomes more scarce, people will just charge more and more for it, and that will cause us to reduce our consumption. Additionally, when we drill it in an oil field, we don't know exactly how much oil there is in there. We make best guesstimates, but it really is just that. It's an estimate. And then the other thing that is they call it yield. What percentage of the oil are we going to get out of that field? And the problem is that as you ramp up how quickly you're pumping it out, and a lot of it has to do with the techniques that they use, you actually lower the amount of yield. You increase the current production, but you lower the overall yield. Mm-hmm. And there are concerns that too much of these enhanced techniques are being used, and we are going to cause these fields to fail earlier and reduce their overall yield.
Wow, that's interesting. So, I see the economic sense that prices will help, regulate the demand for the product. But, is there a chance that that this is wrong, and if so, what are the implications of that?
Well, it's always possible that oil is being formed within the earth at all times, but from what we understand, that's just simply not the case. Mm-hmm. As new technologies are developed and new techniques, it will increase the yield that we get out of each field. We also are learning techniques that will allow us to go into fields that we have closed because we reach the maximum yield and continue to get more oil out. But typically these are expensive, and a lot of people say we can't count on that.
Right. So yeah, processes like fractionating and really trying to optimize the amount we can get out of each well. It certainly will extend the life of the existing wells in the future, and you're saying maybe even let us go back to wells that have been abandoned and extract more value from that.
Yeah, and part of it is not just new technologies that allow us to go back to old fields. As the price of oil rises, a lot of times fields are closed not because we don't have the technology to get the oil out, but they're closed because it's too expensive. Yeah. So as oil prices rise, old fields will be reopened, even with old technology, but expensive technology.
Sure.
some of the concerns around this, though, is that we don't really know where we are. There's a theory called peak oil, and in the U.S. we reached peak oil with our fields, and that simply is you're going to have rising production. Eventually, it peaks and it goes down. Now, after the peak, you can utilize techniques, and even before the peak, you can utilize techniques that boost your production, but again, it lowers the total yield. One of our concerns is that Saudi Arabia used to release very detailed data on their estimates for proven reserves on a field-by-field basis. They no longer do that. Now we just get a gross number. No new major mega fields have been discovered, but they keep revising their estimates upwards. People think that they're just kind of saying, hey, trust me, nobody's running out of oil. But our concern is that that when that peak oil happens and production rapidly drops off, if we're not aware of that, we can't start using substitute technologies such as, how else can we produce plastics, or what other alternative energy can we use to power our transportation modes?
Right.
It's going to cost us money to switch over to alternative energy sources, and everybody knows that. But how quickly you must do it is going to make a big difference in how much that costs. If we can do it gradually and we can introduce it in an organized manner, it'll be good. But if overnight, at the pump, gasoline jumps to $5, $8, $10, $12, $15 a gallon, that's going to cause a major disruption.
Right.
People are not going to know what to do. Even when oil peaked, or when gasoline peaked around $4 a barrel, you saw people. They were practically giving you their SUVs. I'll pay you money, take over the note. So we want to try to avoid that situation. We want it to be more gradual.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, my theory, my personal theory, and I'll share this with you. Hopefully this doesn't get out. But is that we should all kind of try to get towards where we were with Back to the Future, where we can actually just put our trash in our cars and magically, be able to, not only drive but time travel as well. So that's my hope.
When you invent the Mr. Fusion, I want to buy stock ahead of the IPO.
I'll let you know. Well, thanks so much, Bradley, for being on the show today.
Thank you.
It's been great, very, very enlightening. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Morning Market Call.
Morning Market Call is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in cooperation with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by generous donations from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams. This show was produced by Jeff Butler, David Wood, and Doug Mumford, with line producing by Beth Grimmett. For more information, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook.